So here we are in Rush Creek Yacht Club in the north part of Texas in a beautiful morning. My name is Rod Favela and we're about to show the latest creation of Bennett Yachting and Ovington sailboats, the VX EVO. It's a little 16-footer and we're going to learn a lot more about the boat in just a few seconds. On the VX EVO we have a very light carbon fiber mast manufactured by CST Composites. It has a plastic sail tracks. As you can see, it's very easy to manipulate, easy to move around, and super strong, yet flexible and responsive to all the adjustments. So easy to travel. You can travel with the mast in one piece or with the mast in two pieces inside the boat. Very simple. Right here, and later I'm going to show you guys where the seam of the junction of the two sections is. And then here it is, just a very simple road package. There is a dolly that travels on top of the road trailer. We'll see more details shortly. And now we're gonna go ahead and uncover this baby and see how it looks. So this is how the boat looks like after the top and bottom cover have been removed. We're still on the road configuration. The dolly is over the road trailer. I'm now going to proceed to unload the dolly of the trailer. One important thing that we want to keep in mind is even though we have a roller on the back, there is quite a bit of a transom sticking out. So this terrain where we are right now is not completely flat. We do want to make sure that as we're rolling the boat of the road trailer, we don't hit the transom against the ground. So if there is somebody else, another fellow sailor around that can help, that'll be really helpful. I'm gonna try to give it a shot by myself, making sure that we don't hit the ground. I'm gonna take care of our boat, so here we go. I'm gonna keep adding weight to the transom, to the bow, sorry. And let's see until we touch the yellow wheels, and I think we're still in the clear. And we go. Yep, I think we're all good now. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And here we are ready to rig. So now that we pulled the dolly and the boat off the road trailer, we carry all the equipment with the exception of the mast, because I like to travel with the mast in one piece, but you can travel with the mast in two pieces, everything inside the boat. You can put all your sails, your spinnaker, blades, everything can travel in there. In this particular boat, we have all the three sail options that the EVO is offered with. The A sail, which is 110 square feet, the B sail, that is 100 square feet, and then the C sail, that is 90 square feet. The most popular nowadays is the B, 100 square feet, is probably the best all around for a very wide range of sailors. I'm fairly light, and I can still hold it quite easily as the rig is fairly manageable. So we're gonna pull, this is our B sail. We're gonna put it here, it's a smaller one. This is our A sail. As you can see, it's a little longer. Right here, you can see a little extra on the foot. And then the B sail, which is still connected to the boom. As you can see, I have the boom and the clew connected to the sail, which is just save me a little bit of time as we're gonna rig the boat. This is our rudder. It is important to keep a rudder cover. We're gonna go ahead and throw it in here. You can put it at any time as you are rigging the boat. So I'm gonna proceed and hook it in here. Like to put the tiller extension. Just make sure that you don't hit the rudder blade with anything. We have C-shore pintles and gudgeons. We have a lock in here. A little lock, and your rudder is now secure. In a short while, we're going to show you guys how the locking mechanism on the rudder head prevents the rudder from flipping down and hitting the ground. I'm just have a big nut here that you can do manually and drop it, and the rudder is not going to go anywhere. And then on top of that, we have some lines that are going to keep the rudder blade up. Well, I like to take the dagger board away just for rigging purposes. You can tell it's a fairly high aspect dagger board. I'm gonna put it here let it down, and when the time comes, we put it back on the boat once we have everything clean. The boat has an inspection port, and they don't come originally with a transom plug. The transom plug is a $6 piece that can be added later on if you need to. I'm not a big fan until the boat starts leaking, if ever starts leaking. It is important that the inspection port that goes here is a 4-inch inspection port, stays out. You leave the hole open so it breathes, and you don't have any problems with the seams with the hot air expanding the hole, and that typically happens on boats that are properly sealed like this guy is. Now we're going to show you some details about the mast before we proceed to step it and put it on the boat. This is a tapered 2-section carbon fiber mast manufactured by CST Composites. This top piece is an off-the-shelf manufactured by Allen Brothers, and it can be easily replaced. The same way with the sheath and the 3/16 pin. So it's everything very simple. Just in case some wear and tear in the future, you need to replace the part. They can be easily purchased, and they're pretty affordable. Also, I will suggest not to glue this part to the mast, because the day you need to replace is going to be extremely hard. The main halyard exit, this is just a 7/64 Dyneema single braid, and as you can see, there is a I-splice, a single braid I-splice of our messenger line into the actual halyard, which in this case is the blue one, to differentiate it. It gets all pulled in, and we have a hook rack at the bottom of the mast that we'll show you shortly that tells you where the main halyard goes. The next step down is the hounds, where 3 components meet. As you can see, the VX EVO doesn't have a headstay, which is a real blessing. It's a great improvement in the design, because being single-handed with a spinnaker is very easy to jibe, hoist, and douse. What we have here is one shackle with the 2 shrouds. The shrouds are there to support the mast and give stiffness, especially when we're carrying the spinnaker. The boat can't sail without the shrouds in absence of the spinnaker or in very light air, but we rig it every time because we don't know what's going to happen out there on the water. Also together on the same bracket, there is a bonded carbon fiber bracket. There is this Carbo Harken 29mm block that guides the spinnaker halyard. And as you can see, exits here, and we're going to bring it all the way down. Then here you can see this little Allen head screw is the one that secures the upper section into the bottom section of the carbon fiber mast. Here you can see the seam where the 2 masts join together, and remember, you can pull this screw, break the mast in half, and you can travel with the mast inside your truck or inside the boat, no problem. We keep moving forward, and here we can see the exit of the spinnaker halyard, which is also your retrieving line to keep lines clean and simple. And this guy here is basically your gooseneck. This is the boom bracket. The boom slides inside, goes with a pin that gets locked, and it rotates, very similar to what a fin or a laser mast do. Then we keep going to the bottom. Here is the collar that protects the mast at the partner's height. This is a little block that is used for the vang, one of the vang purchases. And at the bottom of the mast, we will be able to see there is a cap. You probably cannot see from this take, but there is a little ball. The ball fits inside this mast butt cap and allows to rotate with very, very low friction. Both pieces can be replaced. They have just a couple of Allen screws. The piece can be pulled out and replaced after its wear and chafe. And with nothing else, we're going to proceed now to step the rig and get the boat ready to go. Right now, we're going to start with the mast stepping procedure. Quite simple. We only have 2 shrouds, 1 main halyard and 1 spinnaker halyard. Right now they look a little tangled, but it's okay. You don't have to be concerned about it. The main thing is just to go ahead and step it up. As you can see, it's simple, probably easier than an aluminum rig of the same height. We just walk it. Like to set it in there. As I said before, you don't have to be too concerned, other than the fact that we are going to put it right here on the partners. Get slowly in there. And then you will fit, and you'll see how the sleeve, the protection, the chafe sleeve that the mast has, just sits right there on the partners. And there's the mast, that's all it takes. Now, when it comes down to connecting the shrouds, now we're gonna clear them up. Make sure that the spinnaker halyard is not tangled. Just leave it in there. Here we have. The way we know our mast is in place, before we look down below and make sure that the bottom of the mast is actually sitting on the rotating ball, is you'll see the chafe and the wear on the sleeve that is glued onto the mast. Then I always like to make sure you slide your head down and see that the mast is sitting nicely on the stainless steel ball. Next step, we're going to make sure that your shrouds are not tangled up. Make sure, it's a common mistake to leave the spinnaker sheet if you have your boat rig inside. Just make sure that the spinnaker sheet is outside of the chain plate, and you can take the supplied quick release pin and we pull the fork around the chain plate, we just put it just like that, and off you go. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We put the aircraft fork through the chain plate, the quick release pin, and I like to tape this ring and leaving it up so you prevent any potential snag with the spinnaker sheet. Once you connect one side of the shroud, or actually one of the shrouds, depending on how you have positioned the mast chocks to play with the prevent of the mast, it may be hard in some cases to connect the other side. When you guys have that problem, we find out that if we take the main halyard and tie it down all the way back on the rudder post, and then just put a little slip knot connected to the outhole hook here, and you put your outhole, you will bend the mast enough that you're gonna have slack on both sides. So right now I'm gonna crank it more, so I have a lot of bend. I probably have almost 8 to 9 inches of bend on the mast, and both shrouds, you can tell they're quite slack. Now I'm gonna go ahead and ease it completely to get rid of the load, and now these guys are much tighter. And this is how you can connect both shrouds in case you cannot reach one. The slip knot is gone and your boat is ready to connect. Now I'm going to show you how to connect the vang. First thing you want to make sure is that all the purchases are clear, right? Remember that this is I want to call a double-ended cascade on the vang. We have two cascades, one at the bottom and the other one at the top. So you will have one line, this is the way it comes from the factory, hanging behind and connected to the shackle right here on this little tang. And this line is going to go through the little Harken block, and then you're going to connect the double block here. So it's very simple. We're just going to undo the shackle. Put it through. Then here goes the pin again. So here's the first part of your vang already connected. Once you have connected the first cascade, as we just did, the next step is to connect the second part. And we do this to keep things simple for traveling. So there is one line that comes out of the center hole on your partners here. You gotta come up and make sure that you don't forget to go through this small block. It's very common to do it. I'll do it all the time. So that way you have a clean and fair lead straight from the upper block. And you're going to take this stopper ball and slide it inside this eye splice. That's the way it comes from the factory. It's a very tight fit. You just got to be patient about doing it. And there it goes. This is the way it works. At this point, when you pull the vang, there's going to be this red line here. We see it working. And that actually makes your limit on the raise of the vang. As you can tell here, this tail from the eye splice, you can adjust the length based on the conditions that you're going to be sailing on, and you can play with that. Now we're going to show you how to run the spinnaker halyard / retrieving line. The VX EVO, the same way on the VX1 and some other few sport boats out there, has a single line hoist, douse, pull out, pull in line. In other words, with only one line, you can hoist the spinnaker and the bowsprit will come out, and when you douse, everything is going to be pulled in by the same line when you pull it on the reverse side. So this end, where I have the stopper ball, this is the part that goes up to the mast. You can see partially here. We're going to put this away for now. We're not going to use it. We're going to take it away. And then in this other end of the halyard, we have what we call a little soft Flemish ice, a messenger loop. This little tiny lime line that I have here is our messenger line that we have run inside the snuffer, the spinnaker snuffer that goes all the way to the back of the boat and the block system underneath. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bow line here. You can use, this is 2mm XL Pro. You can use any small line, even a single small 1mm Dyneema such as Skyline and so on. The smaller the better. Okay, and you can see that I have tied down my messenger line to this ice trap in the launching hole on the bow. The first thing is to make sure that this guy comes out. See how as I pull, the bowsprit wants to come out. So you want to tie down your halyard so you don't sky it, and then a little pull in. As I pull in, I'm following the path of the halyard all through the blocks inside. Sometimes I gotta go and check that on the snuffer the knot gets a little tangled. It's okay, you just feed it through. That's the whole point of using a smaller line, so it doesn't get stopped in the little grommet that the snuffer has here. If it happens, no big deal. You just go there and push it just like I did. Keep pulling all the way through. Make sure you have no. And here is my retrieving line. Make sure that you don't lose it inside because it's not hard, but sometimes you will have to go ahead and fish it inside, use a button or something like that. At this point, you can undo the halyard from the handle of the dolly, right? Not like just to leave a little slack in here just so we don't lose it as we rig the spinnaker. At this point, you're going to have all the lines that control your spinnaker here on the bow. So here's the tagline that I also use to tie the boat to the front handle. These are the two spinnaker sheets that we tied to the bow fair lead for the bow line. And here's the retrieving line. As you can see, both ends. This is the retrieving line, and this is the halyard. As you see, I just pull one of these. I just pull the halyard, and the bowsprit wants to come out. And when you douse, the tagline brings it in as you pull the retrieving line. So the next step that after this that we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and rig the actual sail, and we're going to show you how to connect it step by step and how to stuff it inside the snuffer. Right, now we're going to show you how to rig your spinnaker on the VX EVO. Once you have the spinnaker clear out, make sure that you have run the tapes and have all your corners in the right spot. The way I like it, and there is nothing really written about it, the way I like to do it is to connect the head, then connect the tack, and then connect the spinnaker sheets to the clew, and finally, and the last point I do is connecting the retrieving line, which is the other end of our spinnaker halyard. So we're gonna do it here fairly quick for you guys, just a little bow line, and I do like to put a big stopper ball in it, so there's not a chance of the line getting sucked into the spinnaker halyard sheath or block over there. Then we're gonna run our blue tape until we get to the tack. The tack sticks out of the bowsprit. So the tack is not adjustable. The tack is a line, it's a piece of 4mm or 3mm spectral line that goes through the hollow bowsprit and ties down in one of the eye straps of the hiking strap inside the boat. So it's not adjustable, it's a fixed length. And the same thing, I just let the stopper ball slide, take it to the grommet, and put a very nice and tight small bowline knot. Right, so here we have it. Now we got it there. Then I go back to the head, run the tape of the leech, we typically thread, and that will take me to the clue. The clue is made out of just a single loop of webbing. And here's one of the most, or the nicest part of the VX EVO. Without the head stay, the chances of something going wrong while rigging the spinnaker are very, very small. So the only thing that you want to make sure is that you have both spinnaker sheets outside of the shrouds, which in our case they are because we rigged it properly when we did it a few minutes ago. So we just go again, tie our bowline here, and we're going to tie another bowline. And again, you can have taper sheets with soft shackles, ice splices, and everything you like. The class is open about that, and we make sure that when we are working on the rules, we keep it just like that. And then we have the retrieving line part, which is the other side of the halyard. You see I pull here and the bowsprit goes out and the head tries to go up. And for that, you just make sure that you have the foot clean. You go on the foot is a white tape, and we're gonna find a grommet in the middle of the spinnaker. It's like a belly button grommet in here. And then if we keep going up looking for it, eventually we're gonna find a patch with a loop. So basically the retrieving line goes through the grommet and ties down on this loop. So let's see how we do that. We just come here. You see I push the line through, and I like to leave about 1 foot or 1.5 feet, and then I put a stopper knot. What this does, this basically fold the spinnaker in half and make it easier when you douse. By doing just a figure-8 knot, you can adjust it even on the water if it ended up too tight or too long, because you can rotate the knot. You can move the knot, slide it back and forth, as you can do on any stopper knot. And then you come back here. We find our stitching grommet, and here we're going to tie a bowline. Once you know you're secure, now your spinnaker is connected in all 3 corners, and you have the retrieving part completely connected as well. Without the head stay, you have no problem. You can rig it on the starboard side, you can rig it on the port side, and there's no problem. Just make sure that as you douse it, especially on the first time when the boat is on the trailer, it doesn't get hooked with anything, any piece of hardware, because we don't want to put a rip on it. So right now, I'm going to proceed at just douse the spinnaker and put it inside the snuffer from the transom of the boat. I'm just going to pull now that we have rigged the boat, mast is up, shrouds connected, boom in place, vang in place, the spinnaker is clear, all completely attached, and inside the snuffer, we're going to proceed at just show you guys how to prepare the main and get it ready to hoist. Some fellow sailors like to hoist the main and leave everything ready and keep the boat or splash the boat with the main already up. In my particular case, I'm more of the opinion of splashing the boat with the mainsail down, get it to a dock, or if water to waist height, and hoist and prepare and get it from there. Just that will keep your life much simpler when you're splashing the boat. The mainsail is a loose-footed main. It's only attached to the boom and the clew. There is a clew band, a clew strap, and there is a 2-to-1 outhaul block with a little hook that we put in a loop on the clew of the main. We're going to get to that later. And in the case of the head, it's quite simple, just a single braid Dyneema line with a standard D-shackle. So we're just going to unroll it. It's going to get a little noisy for a second. So the mainsail on the VX EVO does not have a headboard. It's just a webbing ring because it's a square top mainsail with a diagonal button, as you can see here. It has 3 full buttons that all of them have a button tensioner. There is a 4mm Allen or 5/32 Allen wrench screw that you can adjust it. You have to be really careful not to overdo it because they can be hard to pop in light air. So just, you know, get familiar with them. The more it blows, the more tension you can put in them. But as soon as you have light air, it is best to release the tension. Now, this is where we're gonna go. We're just gonna go ahead and put the shackle through the ring. Just secure it. Very straightforward. Pull the slack out of our messenger line, make sure that we have no problem in there. You may feel a little bit of friction, like right now I'm trying to pull and there is something that is stopping it. That is just the eye splice of this part connected to the messenger line on the masthead sheath. There's no problem, just give it one big yank and it will go right up. Then we present the bolt rope inside the sail track. There is a nice and a smooth feeder here that helps the sail guide. The first 3 buttons, they will put a little bit more friction as you hoist, but the higher the mainsail goes, the easier it is. Once we have the head of the sail pre-fed into the sail track, the back of the mast, and our halyard connected, we proceed to simply hoist. No major thing. The only thing I do on the back of the sail is just connect the clew strap to the boom, and I'm going to show you guys how to connect the halyard to the hook rack right here. So I'm going to go ahead and hoist. Make sure that you are 100% head to wind so this doesn't happen to you, or makes your life easier. So as you can see, the sail has a floating tag, so we have literally 0 tension. And here is our connection between the messenger line and the actual halyard. We have a hook rack here, so we can connect. This halyard is kind of middle of the way. You just put it in here, and off you go. That's everything you have to do. Then you're gonna be left over with this messenger line, which is basically the length of the mast. You can coil it, and what I like to do is I'll simply like to put it down below and hide it inside the snuffer, and it works quite well. You can also put it through the collar of the outhole here. The next thing that you have to do is your sail has a buckle with a strap on the tack. Make sure that when you do it, you do not go, this is a no-no, just go inside the spinnaker line, the halyard right here. And then you buckle it on the port side of the sail. Now we have the sail connected there. The next thing that is going to put on is the Cunningham. So the Cunningham is going to be our blue line here. Make sure it's completely eased. You can bring the sail down, connect it, and off you go. And then last, we can go ahead and connect the outhole. The outhole has a little 2-to-1 purchase plus another 2-to-1 in the front, making it a 4-to-1. And it has a Ronstan small block with a hook in it. Your mainsail has a little webbing loop, and you just go ahead and connect it. And even though it looks a little bit insecure there, as soon as you put some load, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the outhole in on this side. We're gonna go to the other side and show you that as soon as the sail is under load, the hook engages and gets ready for it. Hang on. We're going to, okay. And there you have it. Now your VX EVO is ready to sail. We got outhole, van connected, Cunningham, spinnaker is good, and the boat is completely prepared to go out and splash. if depending on your jack club or sailing center condition, you may be able to splash without any problem, or you may need to be splashing with the sail down. One of the things that you want to make sure that you do is make sure that your main sheet is ready and clean if you're going to hoist with the mainsail up, because it's very easy to get tangled and you will have very little time, you know, by the time you have to remove the dolly out of the water into the time you go sailing to accommodate things. So your main sheet is 2-to-1 here on the back, and I will show you in a few minutes in a different shot how it is prepared and ready to go sailing with it. The VX EVO has a very simple approach for everything we do. From the beginning, we have only 3 mainsail controls besides the main sheet, which is Cunningham, Vang, and Outhole. And then we have the actual main sheet, which goes from the Barney post on a swivel base into a ratchet block, a 40mm ratchet, then goes inside the boom, it sticks out in a boom end sheath, goes around a offset block, a 29mm block, and then goes back up and ends on the boom. The bridle is adjustable. There is a clamp cleat in one side. We probably want to have it as close as possible to the point where this line is almost touching the tiller as we sail, right? The other thing that is unique about this boat is that the end of the main sheet is attached to the, basically almost a transom, to the block, to the ice trap where the block for the retrieving line is. The reason behind that is that when we are sailing the boat single-handed and we are carrying the spinnaker up, we do not want the end of the bitter end of the main sheet to go forward and make us lean in to catch it. So that way the main sheet is all the way on the back. The way it works very simple. You'll see how you can pull and get a lot of tension. We have a cam cleat there that will help us, you know, take a little break once in a while as we go upwind. But the main reason why the cam cleat is there is for downwind sailing. Once we're sailing downwind, 80% of the attention and power is given by the spinnaker. So we want to make sure that we are constantly adjusting it. The mainsail can be cleated in place right after the jibe and allow us to sail more easier because we can control the whole balance of the boat basically by taking control of the spinnaker. Right now after that, we're going to proceed and hoist the spinnaker and show you guys how the asymmetrical spinnaker goes in and out of the boat. Probably the easiest point of sail to hoist the spinnaker is somewhat into between a close and a broad reach. You do not want to sail the VX EVO in heavy, especially in heavy air, under main only, as all the pushing power will be forward, and you can tell the position of the mast in reference to the hull. So the main thing is trying to ease out, go past close reach and get into a broad reach. At this point right now it's blowing from the north. We're gonna give it a shot and hoist actually on a almost on a tight reach. So we go again. I cleat the main. Once it's off, I make sure that the vang is completely out, almost to my mark. And the way you know your outhole is out is you can see the blue ball, your stopper ball, coming to the block right here. So here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and at the count of 3, we make sure that the sheets are uncleated. My main sheet is in the place where it has to be, and I can hoist in 3, 2, 1, and here we go. And there you have it. And one of the things that you may want to do is right there you can see that the this line, this retrieving line, is a little bit heavier and offers a little bit of friction for the wind conditions. So you can always taper the line and make it a little lighter. There is more than one option, and there are no restrictions as far as class rules have to do with it. So here we have it. When it comes down to dowsing it, we're gonna reverse the process. The same thing as we did before. We're gonna make sure that the spinnaker is actually working and you can see that I'm pulling the slack out of the retrieving line, and I keep pulling and pulling and pulling to the point where the spinnaker is almost vertical to the mast. And at that point that I have no more slack, I can release the spinnaker sheet. You can see that the spinnaker is controlled by the retrieving line. Once we reach this point and we make sure that we're not going to run the spinnaker over with the boat, we pop the halyard of the cleat, as you can hear right now. And once again, the only thing that we have to do here is no really muscle, but speed. We just want to be a little faster than gravity as the spinnaker comes down, so we make sure that we don't have it going overboard and go shrimping, as we call it. So we're going to douse at the count of 3 in 1, 2, 3, and the spinnaker is coming down. As you can tell, there's something that is tight here, and typically this doesn't happen on the water. Probably we have something that got cut or something that didn't let the spinnaker come in nicely. If you guys happen to run into this problem, the best thing to do is not forcing it. The best thing to do is to go ahead and hoist again and make sure that there are no problems with the spinnaker. Now we know the spinnaker is back in good shape. We pull the slack out again. And now we can go ahead and douse in 3, 2, 1, and off we go. That way we guarantee that the spinnaker goes up and down clean and is ready for the next hoist without any problem. And with that, we have shown you everything that takes to rig the VX EVO from the road all the way until the point that is ready to sail. Thank you for joining us today. Now we're going to go ahead and lower the rudder. We have a line down and a line up with clamp cleats attached to the tiller, and on top of that we also have a lock nut on the port side of the rudder head. So I'm going to go ahead and uncleat the line for the rudder up, and I pull it all the way down until it's 90 degrees to the hull. And once we're there, we just pull hard, and I like to do a little safety loop here, and now I can go ahead back to the rudder head and tighten the knot on the other side just to make sure we're safe there. All right, and that guy is going to stay in place. The next thing I like to do is go ahead and put the dagger board down. So we just go forward here. So this is our dagger board. And this dagger board trunk has a little gasket that is important to make sure that it's completely clean. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to get the dagger board wet a little bit. So we just stick it in there. Almost all the way down. We just put the dagger board in place, and the dagger board remains in the trunk by friction thanks to a gasket that has around the edge of the trunk. However, I do recommend that you guys install a shock cord or a bungee cord in order to avoid losing the dagger board in case you kick it off the dagger board trunk in the case of a capsize. So do that, and that will keep the dagger board attached to the boat. Next thing, I'm just untying the little transom line that I use so we can control the boat. And now we're going to move on into hoisting the mainsail and go sailing. Now we're going to start hoisting the main. As I mentioned earlier, the boat is more stable on the back than on the front, and in order to hoist the main, you got to go forward. So you can do it, no problem. You just got to be a little careful. Make sure that you just don't hang too much from the mast because you're going to be pulling the boat with you. So just like to stay here close to the middle. I'll get on my knees and start hoisting the main that I already had listed here. So as you can see, the messenger comes out and then immediately the actual halyard comes in. Make sure that the Vang, outhole, and Cunningham controls are all loose. And let the boat orientate itself to the wind. We just put the ice splice in one of the hooks of the roof rack. And just stuff the messenger part of the halyard. Then we connect, we make sure that we do this one in front of the mast but behind the spinnaker halyard that's coming in. Now we're just gonna install the Cunningham hook. Little blue line here. Right? And with that, our Evo is ready to go sailing.